probably could have gone a whole different way if it wasn't for some of those teachers I had that listened to who I was and saw past, the mohawk and the spiked, collars and the skateboard and the size 60-inch pants. So for me, because I know if it wasn't for some of those educators I had in high school, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. And that's why it's so important to me to give students, just like I was, and everyone else, an outlet to have their voices heard. So when I began teaching, I was kind of doing, we never sat in straight rows. Everything we did was to let students speak. I hardly ever sat in the front and gave, a lecture. There's times that it was needed, and I taught middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade ELA, but we tried to get up and move and have kids share their thing. So the zombie picture actually represents one of my students who had been written off by everybody else. And he came to me in 8th grade. And I remember his previous teachers telling me, look, just tell Colt to sit in the back, let him put his head down. Don't even bother with him because his brother's a junkie. His household is dysfunctional. He's going to just follow that same path. Don't even, pay him any mind. And I'm thinking, well, okay, you're telling me just to ignore a kid and just let him slide through to get him out of here? So I was like, that's not going to happen. So I've learned to find out what he enjoyed. And, that was through building relationships with him and spending time with him. And it was a lot of work. I mean, there was days I wanted to give up because he just wouldn't budge. But eventually I found out that he was extremely into, zombies. And this was when The Walking Dead was starting. So I began our journal prompts specifically just for him, but the other kids got a kick out of it. Where every day they'd come in, our journal, our bell ringer was, a different scenario on this zombie apocalypse we were facing. So, day one might be, okay, the zombies are on their way to our school. This is where we're trapped. We can't leave. Who in the school, you can pick a team of 3. What other 2 people would you use to team up with you and why? And explain it. Then the next day is like, okay, you need to build a safe room. So where's your safe room going to be? Well, Colt ended up writing my journals every day. And then once the journal time was done, he put his head down. But it was small gains I was making. Then eventually when it came time to writing our narrative essays, he turned in a 24-page front and back. Have you ever seen the Friends episode when Ross gets that letter from Rachel? 24-page front and back essay on this zombie takeover. And it was near flawless. There was nothing wrong with it. And I remember giving him at the end of the year a special award I created just for him. It was like the most creative writer award. And I remember the other teachers disagreed with me. They thought he didn't deserve it. But seeing his mom come up to me at graduation crying, saying that I was the only one, his only teacher who never gave up on him, meant a lot. And, I've Googled him and he's a successful body piercer now, but he seems like he's posted that he's clean. He's, runs his own business. So, good for him that he hasn't gone down the path that a lot of people thought he was going to.
And
so
what did you teach? What was your subject?
It was ELA, Reading Language Arts.
Middle school?
Yes. So,
okay.
And it is, kids don't want to write essays to begin with. It was like pulling teeth to get them to write an essay. But for the narrative, he just flourished with it. So kind of, my teaching years, I always found ways to give students an outlet. The 3 Little Pigs, when we talked about argumentative writing, we held a courtroom and everyone was assigned different roles. So I had kids come in and they would find their note card and they're the stenographer. They would come in, they're the jury, they're the, whatever, all the roles in the courtroom, the bailiff. And I kind of placed those roles for them on their personalities and their strengths. And we would have 2 different sides, we're the 3 little pigs telling the truth about this wolf coming to get them. Or if you ever read this story, was the wolf the one who was actually innocent and the pigs were trying to frame him? And it was really cool because I took the kids to the teacher workroom, the jury, and every classroom had a different outcome of who it was. But, I gave those kids, like I said, the kid who was good at art, he got to be the one who did the sketching of people who were on the stand. And so I just found...
Just a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So did you take that kind of mentality into your role as being a principal?
100% at first. So that's the next one. So the first couple of years, here's Leo, right? My first couple of years in administration when I was an assistant principal, I felt like I was on top of the world. I was, the cliche saying, you get to reach way more kids than the 150 you have in your classroom, or for an elementary teacher, the 30 you have. So I was in classrooms, collaborating, doing these things I did as a teacher and helping, coach the staff I was in charge of. So I was an AP for 2 years. Now, if anyone's an assistant principal, I tell this all the time, every time I speak, stay in that role as long as you can. Assistant principal is like the best job because you've got a lot of responsibility and you don't have all of the other stuff that kind of will fall on you if you were the principal of the school. Sometimes I regret getting out of being an AP as quick as I did. But I do love being a building principal now. So once I became a principal, we've all seen Office Space. I kind of felt like this, like I thought now that I am the face, not saying that I was the face of the school, but now that I'm in charge, I needed to sit in my office, answer phone calls, emails, and all of that. And it was miserable. I did this for about 2 years, 3 years. And then I really thought I'm leaving education. I just turned 40. So when I was doing this, I was like, there's no way I can do this the rest of my career. So I gave myself one more summer of like 2018. I said, either I'm going to leave education or I'm going to give it one more shot. And if I'm still miserable, I'm going to leave after next year. So I kind of reinvented myself and I said, look, I'm going to do things the way I've always done it, my way. I'm going to be out and about. I'm going to be talking to people. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and model what I expect. So this picture, real quick, I know it's a blurry picture, but my mom still has this on her kitchen counter from me from high school. And it's funny because people get a kick out asking her, why would you keep that picture around? But it means a lot to me that she did. So like I said, we got to get out of our comfort zone. And one of the things that I do as leader, I model what I expect from our staff, because I know what I do, then the staff will know that I'm supporting them and they're comfortable with it. Influencing the staff influences the kids, and I love that quote from Todd Whitaker. When the principal sneezes, the whole school catches a cold. So I started blogging 2 years ago and putting my writing out there. And I started podcasting this past year with my co-host, Josh Buckley, who we met through Twitter. So the reason I think educators need a podcast is because we all have a story to tell. All of us has something to share. And if we rely on what the local, news is saying about schools and educators, 99% of that is always negative. So Josh and I kind of met and we had this background from being in punk rock. So what we do, and I'm not going to spend too much time explaining our podcast. I'm not trying to sell it. You can go and listen on your own. We take these kind of tenets of punk rock and we apply it to school. So today we record this morning, we talk about a circle pit, which, we've all seen pictures when everyone is kind of running in one circle in the same direction as the band's playing. We talk about how, whether if you're in the circle, you're on the perimeter kind of securing it, we're all on the same mission. We're all in this together. We all have the same, kind of mentality that this is our show. And if someone falls, we pick them right back up and we carry them till it's safe to put them back down on their feet. And that's kind of what we do. We take these tenets and mentalities from punk rock and apply it to education. And it doesn't matter if, you were into punk rock or not. You can listen to our podcast and take things from that and adapt it to you. Everyone, like I said, every educator has a story to tell. And I highly encourage you to go out there and start a podcast. You can find a podcast on anything, right? So that's kind of us. And as you can see, Josh has a way better beard than I do. I'm extremely jealous about that. But we want to model what we expect. So my teachers started to see me podcasting, and they started to realize, well, he's out there putting himself out there for the world. He's a school principal and he's talking about mohawks and combat boots and this aggressive music that a lot of people have no interest in, especially after you get out of your teenage years. But he's doing it and he doesn't care what others are thinking. So what that's done is helped show my staff that I support them and you can take risks. So here's a fourth grade class. They did a whole unit on measurements of like the heartbeat. And what they did is they turned their classroom into a surgery center. And they had these Jello mold hearts. The kids had to work as a team and extract their heartbeats, as you can see on the top center. from there. And then they did exercises afterwards. So it's this whole like cross-curricular unit. And believe it or not, this was both of the teachers' formal observation for that year. That's how comfortable they were, knowing that I supported them through the things I was doing with my blogs and my podcasts and the not good YouTube videos I was putting out. They saw like, well, he's taking risks. He's out there doing it. He's spreading his message. So we're going to do that as well. So that's the reason I feel like as educators, we need to. So even if you're a classroom teacher, you're a paraprofessional, you have stories to tell, get out there and do it. Someone's going to want to hear it,
Mike, I got a question for you before we go.
Yes.
To what the next slide is. Then we're going to talk about how students share their voice, but we have a lot of teachers here. And one of the more difficult things I have seen being a principal and now working with all level teachers is taking that first step. Is taking that risk to say, I do want to share, I do want to start a podcast, I do want to talk about things that I'm doing, sharing my voice. What are some things that you can share with teachers about having that confidence to believe in yourself and take that risk and take that step to share your voice, create a podcast, whatever it is?
Right.
What are some you could share?
I think you need to look at what, don't just go download one of these apps there's so many podcasting apps out there. Like I said, they're all pretty user friendly. You can figure out how to do that. But I think you need to figure out, what do you want to say? Like, what's kind of like your mission? Like Josh and I, we talked for a good 3-4 months about what we wanted the podcast to be. And, once we kind of nailed that down, and we kind of dragged our feet a little longer than we should. I think for a teacher, figure out what you want. Our motto is passion, unity, and DIY. Do it yourself. That's what we grew up with in the punk rock and the hardcore cultures. So think about what your passion is. What is something you're passionate about, and what do you want others to know? So maybe you're a teacher who is phenomenal with technology. And there's a lot of different technology podcasts out there, but find a way. I would say you want to find a way to be authentic and original, because there's a lot of podcasts I've listened to that kind of say the same thing over and over. It's the same thing. We go to workshops and you hear the same presenter just kind of rehash the same thing you've heard other times. So try to find a way to make it authentic and original to you. Put your own voice in it. Be yourself. And that's what I'm a big proponent of too. Like, be who you are, because those years that I wasn't, those first couple of years as a principal, I just think how much my staff and my students suffered by me trying to be somebody I wasn't. So you got to find kind of like your niche. You're kind of, I don't want to say your hook, like you're not trying to like be gimmicky, but you want it to be natural for you. So for like Josh and I, we don't ever have a problem finding a different topic to talk about. Like next episode, we're going to talk about gang vocals. And that's when, the singer would turn the mic to the crowd and the crowd singing. We're going to tie that to how the teacher cannot always be the one holding the mic. You got to turn that mic over to your students and let them sing, let them lead, let them take that chorus from you. So, find something that's passionate to you. And I'm not going to lie, your first episode is going to suck. You're going to be happy you put it out there. It's going to be good. You're going to get some listens. But, we're about 40 episodes in now, and we do a lot of different things. We do our full-length episodes, and then we do collaborations where we just started having guests come on. We've had 3 guests so far. We do a thing called Punk Rock Reflection, where we just kind of reflect on things in our lives, or maybe a topic we talked about, or something going on in the world. And it's funny because when people reach out like, oh, I just found you guys, and I listened to your first 3 episodes, I always kind of cringe. I'm like, well, I hope you stick with it, because we've gotten so much better at what we do. But it's like anything. You're not going to be a master the first time you do it. So you got to keep going. And my other advice is you've got to be consistent. Nobody wants a podcast to come out on the first of the month, and then you don't have another episode for another month. So what we do is every Monday, we drop a new episode, whether it's a full length or like one of our shorter versions, but just being consistent, putting out that content. And, Josh and I have this kind of vision. That's why we launched the website. We don't want to just be a podcast. Like, we want Punk Rock Classrooms to serve as, professional development, a place that people can go to kind of learn more. We want to do some instructional videos we're going to put out there, and that's why I'm excited for your YouTube portion. If I don't cut off all your time, Matt.
That's all right. They hear me enough. So how does that? So that's the teacher piece, and I think it's something I hope we can start looking at in our own district about creating interest-based topics that we could work with. How is that? Because I know the next slide's getting into the student piece. Because I think getting that teacher voice out is great, and then getting student voice from different types of learning and different piece. Right. What are some things that you see in your role as a principal that gets student voice out, and how would audio messaging do that?
Right. So, I just picked this slide. It's one of a band from, that's still around. I like it because it's showing the singer's kid, it's saying use your voice. And we need to give students that voice so they can be heard. I don't care if they're kindergarten students. They've got something to say, and we need to let them speak. It doesn't need to always be us. So we've all seen the kids in our school, right? Okay, it's time to do your oral report. The kid's up there. He's scared. Everyone's staring at him. The other kids are probably smiling. These kids who are just afraid. We have adults. When we made a video chain for our students when this quarantine started. I had so many staff say, you don't know how out of my comfort zone it was making that video. So there's even kids who don't want to be on video. But the beauty of a podcast is I tell the kids, you just talk. It's just like you're talking on the phone. And then later on, you put it out there and your teacher can hear it, your classmates can hear it. If you have the kids put out for the world, the rest of the world can hear it. I know for my son, he has extreme ADHD. He has fine motor delays. And in his IEP, we have it where if there's an art type of related assignment where he has to draw or paint or whatever, he does it, but then he is able to verbalize to the teacher kind of what he's doing. So why wouldn't we let kids do that in anything in our classrooms? There's all these different ways we can assess a student. And I really believe that podcasting is one of them. So on this slide, the assessment opportunities are endless. A kid can do a research report, and rather than have to write it all down on a paper, why can't we have them record a podcast that now we can push out to his classmates for them to hear and learn about their person? Now we're not making them go up in front of the class. We're not putting that awkwardness on them. Now I know that we have to do that eventually. The kids have to learn how to public speak and all of that. But this would be an opportunity, because think if they get comfortable podcasting and they get comfortable with people hearing their voice through, pre-recorded recording, eventually they'll hopefully come out of their shell and not be so nervous getting up in front of other people. You can use it as a way for flipped classrooms where even the teacher can record what's going to happen, go home, listen to my podcast, and then you can come back and we're going to do the material. Book reports, reviews. I wish I would have done this when I had my kids have to do an oral book report. I would have much rather done this. They can talk about current events. They can teach their peers. They can interview a famous historian. How fun would that be? Like, Matt, if you were Abraham Lincoln and I was a newscaster and I got to interview you as Abraham Lincoln, you don't need to dress up or get a silly costume anymore, but we could portray that on there. And it's a new way to show what we've learned about, Honest Abe, but it's a fun way to do it. And the thing that I love about if the students podcast, they're getting their voice out there and they're getting to speak and share, but think of the skills they're learning. They're learning how to record. They're learning how to edit. They're learning how to go back and reflect and say, I don't like the way this turned out. I need to re-record this part. One of our third grade teachers did this. They did it was in February. They did their famous African-American historians. And rather than just write the report and speak it, they did podcasting. Now, we didn't have the authority to post these podcasts for the entire world to hear. So she used like an in-house kind of system where only our students can listen to it. It was like through we're a Microsoft school. So it was like through Microsoft Teams. So each of the students can listen to it. But she said these kids who really never cared about doing this type of project, or those students who just kind of rushed through everything to say they're done, took so much ownership in what they were creating. And when they would go through the drafts together, this teacher said, like, look, this is perfect. Like, this is what you want to submit. And the kid would say, no, I don't like, I left this part out. I really want to go back and edit and re-record that part. And she said, just like the pride, and then how excited they were to share their final product with their students and their parents was amazing. You know, she said she had so much buy-in for this project that she couldn't believe it. And then they were going to do another more extensive one. And then March 16th came and we were done. So. Because these are the type of kids that I want.
Wait, can I just jump in for a sec? Can you back up for 1 second? Just because you threw the big word up there, assessment. So as a principal, when we talk about assessments, I know you typed it on the slide, and that's really nice that you did that. However, is this something that you think we can incorporate into assessments, into, you know, some of the work that we do to show students progress?
Oh, 100%. You know, I've never been, it's funny, I teach ELA, and I hated grading essays, and I hate grading paper tests. You know, I'm not a real, I know some of my staff is on this today. If you were to ask them, like, I'm not like a paperwork type of guy, like, and there's so many ways to judge, I don't want to say judge. There's so many ways to assess if a student has mastered the content rather than having to sit down with a paper and pencil, or now basically just a worksheet that's on a screen. There's so many ways to do that. And we need to find those avenues. You know, like I said, when I take it back to when I did that courtroom with the 3 little pigs, if a kid is good at art, let him paint a picture and then explain it to or showcase what he's learned. Let that student who's good at music create their own song or, you know, poem and perform it for the class. That kid who is so shy and just sits in the back behind a book and doesn't want to be seen, let them record a podcast at their house and send it to you so you can, you know, build their trust and say, I promise you, I will not listen to this in front of anyone else. But then listen to it and hear what they have to say, because I guarantee you're going to be surprised that that kid speaking is the same kid that sits in your class that never says a word. So we need to get away from, you know, which I think education is doing a good job of. And I really think with what has happened now, if you want to look at the silver lining, you know, we have learned so much from remote learning that it is crucial to have students be an active participant, because when you're sitting on a Zoom with 30 kids, you can't be the only one talking for a half hour. Like, the kids need to be interactive. They need to share their voice. They need to say what's going on. And those are the ways we can help assess, because if that kind of answers your question, that's
so I had another follow-up, because I really want to continue to tie this into some of the things that we're doing. One of the things when I first heard podcast, you think studio, you think recording software, you think different things, but two of the tools that we use, and I'm kind of verbally brainstorming with you and with some of our team in here, we use tools like Padlet and Flipgrid, where we can almost make a podcast and utilize some of those tools. Is what you're saying. We could use Padlet and create like a weekly Padlet and add our voice and add graphics. Would that still be something you could see how students could get their voice out to use some of the tools that we have? Because making that first step sometimes is tricky.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and there's so many things you can do. Like, when I record my reflection pieces, I use my cell phone and I use the voice recorder, and then I just upload it to our Google Drive that Josh and I share, and then he throws it onto the. I mean, you can get an old school tape recorder if you can find it, and have the kid record themselves on a cassette, and you can say, "Hey, that's your podcast." I mean, yeah, when you think podcast, like, a lot of people think like, well, I'm going to go on and it's on Spotify or it's on the Apple Podcast Network. I mean, I look at it as like, if we can just get students to speak their voice and we can have it on a recorded thing, and think about the power, like showing a parent, like, listen to what your kid produced for me at parent conferences. And you can say, look what they did. But yeah, it's so easy. I mean, honestly, what Josh and I do, we always joke around. We said that we were using Zoom before Zoom was cool, because obviously Zoom is huge right now. That's how we record our podcast. We do a Zoom, we hit record, and then we take the audio file and we throw it in. Well, Josh throws it into the program, and He likes to,
Awesome. No,
yeah.
that's definitely something I like to keep. I'd like to come back to those. So those are some of the tools we use, and really you can get started at using your, the creativity you have. So that's awesome. So I cut you off on the slide you were
No,
going.
that's all right. No, but I mean, these are the kids that I want to see. Like, I want them excited, and I want them sharing the things they're doing, So podcasting is just one of those ways, because I guarantee you, like, I know if I've skateboarded into a classroom and I'm like, hey, I want to make, like, if you look at the kid with the skateboard on the top right, him and I were going to make a video about skateboarding, but we never were able to do that because of everything that happened. I mean, kids want to be on video. Those kids that don't want to be on video, if they'll sit down with you if you've got that relationship, and they'll record with you even if they don't want to speak out loud in class. So you've got to, it starts with building that relationship with your students, which I guarantee most people listening now are doing that. But it comes with building that relationship, that trust, and they need to see you getting out of your comfort zone, taking a risk, and they'll be more apt to do that. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
All right. No, I think that's great. And I know the last slide is just some information that you had put out in the beginning.
Yeah, it's the same one if you still want them.
Yeah, well, because this will go out to the staff, whatever, if you want to contact Mike. And I know you're going to stick around for the next little bit, but if you have questions, throw them in the chats or email them. But I think as we transition, and I'm going to actually take over in a sec, Mike, if you want to unshare, and then I'll share. Because I think when we look at the bigger theme of what we were talking about is student voice. So Mike shared his journey and his story, and some of the things, and I've known Mike for a bit, I'm learning as we go. And I think that's the same thing for students, especially now when they are home and have more time to record some things and showing them how to, I brought it back to some of our core, two of the tools. They could make a Padlet and just record an episode once a week and add some graphics and add some, so you don't need a recording studio. You could do it right within the tools we have, or make a flip grid that's called, Student X podcast, and then each week have a new topic, and they could put it right in there. And again, is that the most efficient, best way to do it? No, but it's a way to get started. And I think that was a big thing that I took, was it's about getting started and moving forward. So I want to talk a little bit now not more, but I want to talk a little bit about the video aspect of it, and just to share about how not only can you use audio to share your voice, you can share through videos. And we all, I'm going to start to present myself. We all in Lesser, or anybody with a Google account, either personal or through school, you have a YouTube account, and you can create your own YouTube channel. And one of the things I was thinking about here, just throw this up, is that as we start to shift, and as we in education start to shift, we have to adapt to how our students are learning. And how our students are learning are different than the students that we had, different than the students we had 5 years ago. They're using a lot of video, they're using a lot of audio. And I read this, the line down at the bottom one time on Twitter, and it really struck me, is that students now obviously is a little bit different because they're home, but students had to power down to go to school, where we were not utilizing the resources to the capacity that we could. And because I think students are writing a little bit more, they're definitely using video a lot more. The students we have now are really growing up, or have grown up, in a visual environment. And that voice is something that they want to bring out. And I think Mike talked a little about YouTube. I'm going to talk just a short bit about, Mike talked about podcasts. I'm going to talk about YouTube. One of the things that I will not talk about is how to create PowerPoints or Google Slides, because I always share with people, don't create them like I do, because they're incredibly wordy. But the reason I make them wordy is because I'm going to hand this out to everybody, so you have all this stuff. So it's not just one takeaway. So students are growing up in a visual environment. They do it every day. They're whatever. We may not like it that they're on TikTok or Instagram Live or Facebook Live. Again, they're doing this type of connection and sharing. If we can harness that in our classrooms and in our schools, then it'll be even more impactful for us, and we can meet those students where they are. Mike was talking about being authentic. And yes, it's a little bit of a different video that would be on TikTok or Instagram Live, but I'm seeing some professionals start to use this in what they do. And if we can harness that excitement for our students, then I think it'd be something we can really show them we value them as learners, and that we can get them excited about what we are doing. So I wanted to share this. I'm going to just take it off a full screen for a second, just because it was distracting, to be honest with you. This student was actually one of our middle school students. I was walking through, and he did this awesome video. You can see it a little bit down here. And it was a storyboard that, and we made a YouTube video, and he explained what he was doing. And I like to share, so I uploaded it to Twitter. And one of the things he said on the video was about a graphic that storyboard that didn't have. And the same day, storyboard that replied to the YouTube video and added the kid's graphic. So he had a voice. There wasn't the intention. He was just sharing his learning, which in itself was awesome. But the impact that it had went beyond our, Leicester Middle School. So it was really, really impactful. Just open up the chat. So as I scroll down here, one of the things that our students are doing now, these are students, I just Googled it. These are students who have their own YouTube channels. And again, some are more cutesy, some are more reporting. And the elementary kid just does things each week. And they're having fun with it. They're excited. They're being their authentic selves. And is it the most academic thing? Not all the time, but they're getting much more comfortable sharing their voice, sharing some of the things that they learn, and just being comfortable with who they are. Because when we have them in schools, and then we have them in the classroom, when students are comfortable with themselves and can self-advocate and share their learning, they will have that opportunity. So looking at YouTube as a platform, they can have the opportunity to create, they can make their own channels. Everyone that has an account can create a YouTube channel. So this is just a girl who likes to code, and her YouTube channel was Girls Can Be Geeks Too. And I mean, one of the things that really was drawing me in, she has 31,000 subscribers. Again, we're not in the business of promoting kids in the sense of let's get more subscribers. However, there's a lot of people out there who want to talk about this topic with this student. So she created this channel in a sense to showcase some of the computer design that she likes to do. And she's sharing her voice. She's learning. It's about school. It's about an educational topic. And the other thing that I liked about this was she has her channel, as did all of these students as well. But she also, one of the things that I wanted to share is you can make playlists. So it's not just one stream of videos. You can have playlists in your own YouTube channel where she, and again, I just pulled a couple examples. She has vlogs, she has different episodes. And another thing, she has videos about other girls that are doing coding and in the tech world. And then a real technical episodes about bits and bytes and different things. So not only making videos, but we could, when you think about this in the classroom, we could have a playlist for certain subjects, chemistry, biology, history, and we can have students contribute to these channels with things that they've learned, things that they are interested in. So I'm just going to go through this at a rapid speed because I'm going to send this out to you because I would not recommend following along and making this as we do it, but I wanted to walk through it in case you had some questions. And I shared a very similar presentation in the high school at the beginning of the year, so it might be a refresher for those of you who haven't seen it. But I think getting started, just like I talked with Mike about getting started with podcasting, it's just taking that first step and trying it. And one of the things about getting started, and I worked with one of our high school teachers, and she started to utilize YouTube to have students do final presentations. And what I thought it would look like would be like, oh, this is okay. And what it turned out to look like was fabulous because the students had an input, the teacher was excited, and it was authentic, and the kids were much more willing to showcase what they know. But if you log into YouTube, one of the options in your app launcher or your waffle is YouTube. And this isn't just a way to get to YouTube and watch videos. This is your actual channel. You have a YouTube channel. Every one of us, it's already built. You might not have ever logged into it, but you have a YouTube channel. And when you go into the YouTube feature, it'll say your channel. All of these features in YouTube are through your domain. What I mean by that is I have 2 Google accounts. One that I'm working in right now is our Lester one. So my Lester, I'm not on YouTube. I can go there. It'll come up to the main screen, but in here is your channel, and it has all your content. Here's all the things that we've done, our teachers reading, some of the videos that I've posted. I don't have many playlists here, but I just have the stories we've read in the video tutorials. But this is right in our Lester account. And through that, we can start building our own channel. Within that channel, and I think this is where students start to get excited, you can start customizing it. You can add icons, you can upload photos. You do this all through the customize icons. So you have an opportunity to customize it. Again, I'm not going to read through all this because I'm going to send it out to all of you, but I just wanted to share with you some of these strategies that not only we have a channel, you can customize it. Here's my banner, the banner that we talked about in Lester. I want to share what we're talking about, student voices in Lester. And through that, you do that through the channel art. So what I try to do here is just point out certain ways that you can start customizing your YouTube channel. I shared you mine here. It just has a banner, and then it has the little logo. So when I rest my mouse over it, says that I can edit this. I can change this picture anytime. I can change this banner anytime. But students, as they evolve, can continue to do that as well. You also can, again, depending on what you use it for as a teacher, or we use it for students, you can write a description about it. This could be a way that we do some remote lessons. This could be a way to add content for substitutes. This could be a way to add directions. How many times, and I won't say I know more of the K-8 teaching than the high school, but I bet it's the same, where you give a direction for a unit, an activity, or something that's done outside of school, and they forget the directions. Well, if you record yourself, and you could have a channel that says directions, and every time you do directions for an assignment, you populate that channel, then there'll be I talk about memorializing learning a lot. You can memorialize your content, you can memorialize your learning, you can memorialize thinking, and students can do the same, where they have their own, and Mike talked about using podcasts for assessments. These can be assessments because you can change the settings of videos. Some are public, some are private, some are unlisted. So just like, because it's through Google, it's the same share settings. You can keep the link private, but share it with a teacher and have them see it. Now, uploading a video is very, I don't want to say easy because I never want to say that, but it's very user-friendly. When you go into YouTube, there's this little camera, and you can either record yourself live right there, or you could upload a video. So times that I have done it, I've used YouTube, I've selected this create a post, and I've uploaded videos. They go right into here. I also have the, oh, you can't see me. Oh, I think I have the app right on my phone, so I can upload videos right to YouTube. And it gives you the opportunity to customize it, to change the settings. So when you select upload, you then select if you want it public, private, unlisted, so different type of things. Mike talked about dropping a podcast once a week. Well, if you film 5 in one day, you can schedule things as well, episodes, different things, and very similar in YouTube. If an assignment is due a certain day, kids can record it, upload it, and then schedule it for the day it's due. Or you have an assignment, and maybe it's I used to read the Choose Your Own Adventure books. Maybe you have a Choose Your Own Adventure task for students, or a unit, and you say, on Monday, I'm going to give you the directions for part 1. And Tuesday, I'm going to give you the direction, and you really don't feel like going in every day and posting them. You could make 3 or 4 videos on one day and then schedule them to come out whatever day you schedule. So that's just another option, that you can create a video and schedule it at a different time. Once you go through the editing phase, when you upload the video, you saw the share settings. The next thing you'll see is you can add titles, you can add the descriptions, and see, I don't think I highlighted, I'm just looking at the next couple slides. To the right of the red square, that's where you can also select, if you forgot on the first time, my default is public, but if yours is public and you forget to change it, or private and you forget to change it, you can change it again here when you upload certain videos. Us in Leicester, our students use Chromebooks, and the Chromebook has a recorder. So all students can record a video right in and on their Chromebook. They choose the camera, they record the video, and the clip will actually be saved in their drive. So then they can upload right from Google Drive into YouTube, or it has a small hard drive. Sometimes it'll go into files, but it won't fit more than 1 or 2 in there. And the other reason I really like YouTube is once it's in YouTube, I actually delete the video because it takes up so much space. Again, this is my phone view. So these were some of the things we did at our professional development. And actually, our famous moderator, Christine, this was one of her activities that I edu-borrowed from her about sharing your why and adding videos. So when your videos are here, you can also do it on your phone. So this is a phone view of what YouTube looks like and has the same feature here. You can upload right here, or you can record yourself. One of the things that gets missed a lot actually is once it's uploaded, how do you edit it? Oh, I uploaded and it was private and I really want it public, or public and it was private. Oh, this was a big one for me. I made a spelling mistake in the title. How can I go back and fix it? At the top of your channel, there's a video manager. What that allows you to do is when you select video manager, you can edit any one of the videos. When you select the video and you select edit, it gives you all the choices of what you want to edit. The title, the description, you can read through this. You can change any of the share settings, and open that window. Somebody's logging in, they're a little late. You can share that as well. The last thing I'm going to share with you, the 2 people we had on last week to talk through Waitlet, they made a Waitlet of resources because they have a YouTube channel, the Jenna Lee Show, and they do a lot with YouTube. So I asked them to make Waitlet of resources. So when I send this out to you, you can open the resources right from here. All right. So the 2 big things that I really wanted to get across to our staff today was really getting your voice out, having an avenue to do it. You don't need a elaborate platform to do it. And it's really about staying authentic, giving students that choice in voice in what they're doing, and just taking the plunge. So we have about 5 minutes left. And again, it's always going to be a hard stop at 2 o'clock unless people have questions want to stick around. I'll stick around. But before we head out, I didn't know if there was anyone that had a question for me about YouTube, Mike about podcasting, or just in general before we log off. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share out these resources. If you do have a question, is it unlimited recording? Yes. So within YouTube, and both of you use Padlet or Flipgrid for record videos, the storage space is unlimited. So you have an unlimited space on the YouTube server as Milford client. What you don't have unlimited storage of is the hard video itself in your backup. So once it's on YouTube, it sits on the YouTube server, and you can have as many as you want there. The one thing that I have seen sometimes is a bit of an issue is if students use songs that are copyrighted, or there's music and they have those in their video, because it's much better with music. It sounds cool. I mean, Mike just talked about it. However, if it's not something that they own in their iMovie or iTunes, sometimes there's a conflict. But beyond that little snafu, there's no length of video limit or how many you can have.
Just be careful if you want to use video with students and upload it to a social media platform. There is requirements for the length of the video, which can get tricky. There's no requirements in terms of the length of a video you put on YouTube, but I think it's like 2 minutes and 10 seconds is the longest video you can post to Twitter. And so that can be kind of tricky if you're, you know, trying to use multiple mediums and platforms with your students. You know, I know some people will use Twitter to get stuff out there and then use YouTube as more of kind of like kind of live, you know, look back at what students have done to refer to later. And so if you're doing something like that, you just need to be cognizant of the length of the videos.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 minutes and 20 seconds for Twitter.
Yeah, I knew it was just over 2 minutes, 2:27.
Okay, yeah, awesome. All right, well, thank you. I know Friday afternoons are starting to get nice. School's starting to wind down. Mike, thanks for jumping on. I'm going to send in everyone out your info, and if they have questions for you, they can send them to you and jump on and take a listen.
Yeah, definitely.
Punk rock classroom.
Yeah, I love connecting with people. So if you got any questions, just let me know. Thanks for having me on too.
Mike, I have a real quick question before you bounce.
Okay.
Is it possible at all for you to have like an example of you know, podcasts that a teacher has used in their classroom? I mean, I know it's obviously an issue in terms of it being like student voice, but is there a way to get like parental permission to potentially like use that as an example so that we can see how the idea kind of worked in real time?
Yeah, definitely. Because the one third grade teacher we had that did that,
Yeah.
we did get some parental consent that said, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. So
Okay.
I will find out who those are and see if I can get copies, and I'll get them to Matt, so then Matt can get out to everybody and kind of check it out.
I think that, you know, that might be a way to kind of, like, as you said, it's about taking that first step, and it's sort of the fear of the unknown. But if we can kind of hear a product, I think a lot of times that can be a big sell for people because they hear how awesome it's worth the risk.
Yeah. So what if it turns out right?
And what if it turns out right?
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Not putting any pressure on you, Mike, but I send out updates every Sunday night. Just saying.
Well, we got new episodes every Monday.
All right, cool. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you for joining in on a Friday afternoon, especially at least here in Massachusetts. Nice and sunny, and get out and get some exercise. I see Athena watching from outside, so that's awesome. So have a great weekend, everybody. Long weekend, and we'll see some of you Tuesday at 10 on our daily meet.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks again.